Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Appalachian Home Co, or hi if you are new to my channel. It is a brand new year and today we're going to be starting out with my favorite Cricut design space hacks of 2023. These are going to be geared for beginners, so if you just got your first Cricut this Christmas, then this video is definitely for you. First, I want to thank you guys so much for subscribing to my channel. I'm so excited to hit 100,000 subscribers to this channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching all of my videos and just every single one of you. So design space tip number one is to upload your own files. Now, if you've been using design space for a while, you will already know this. Create a new project, go to upload image, and I like to just drag my file right onto the screen. You can see the image right under the recent uploads, and now you can click on that image and add it to your canvas. Here you can resize it and send it to Make. You can also import PNGs if you have a project that is print then cut. Simply upload the file the same way, except here I am saving my image as a print then cut file. Tip number two is to create free SVGs for design space. Did you know you can create your own SVGs in programs like Inkscape? Inkscape is totally free and I use this method all the time. I simply find an image or clip art that I like in Google search. I copy it and drag it onto my Inkscape canvas. Here I can go to Trace Bitmap and create a vectorized image. Now that can be saved as an SVG file right in Inkscape, and I can find this in my files later and upload it to Design Space to cut. Tip number three is to create projects using Design Space images. If you don't have your own file to work with, you can create simple or even multi-layer complex projects by using Cricut's images. Go to the Images tab, and here you can either scroll or search for a particular image. Also, you can select several different types of images to create an entire project. Here I used a mason jar shape to create a Basswood Valentine's shaker. I used the outline as a template for the back of the shaker, and I also used basswood for this project. I created an outline using the offset feature at -0.25, and this created an inset of the original shape. I also used the jar shape to represent a clear plastic layer that I wanted to go on top of the shaker. And finally, I used an entirely different image to create a vinyl sticker on the front. You can find this project linked below in the description, and it's in Cricut Project community also. And speaking of Cricut projects, that brings me to tip number four. If you don't have time to design a project yourself, how about using one of Cricut's ready-to-make projects? You can find virtually any project idea you have in Cricut projects. I wanted a mug holder, but didn't want to take the time to design and draw one out, so this one I found in projects. And there are tons of these projects ready to go and complete with a list of instructions and materials you will need on hand to complete each one. Some even have photographs to help you create them. So if you are looking for something and short on time to design, type in what you're looking for and see what pops up. Moving on to tip number five, use different colors to represent a certain material. For the Basswood shaker, I used brown to represent basswood, gray to represent the clear plastic, red for red vinyl, and white for white vinyl. This will allow you to separate your materials on different mats, and then you can select different settings when you are cutting. I'm choosing premium vinyl for that white layer. I'm also going to choose a plastic packaging for that silver plastic layer. For the red mat, I'm going to choose vinyl again, and then for the brown mats, I can go ahead and type in basswood and choose the basswood material. So I can choose different materials for different colored mats no matter what you are cutting. Tip number six, adjust material settings. If you find your materials are not cutting out perfectly, you can go into Browse All Materials and Material Settings. After that, you want to scroll down and find the material you are working with, in this case, premium vinyl. You can then go to Edit, and from there you can change the pressure settings on your blade. You can adjust this up all the way to 350. You can also change the number of times Cricut will actually cut out around an object. Quickly moving on to tip number 7, edit your tools. Cricut will allow you to edit the tool you're using in certain cases. Here I have a hexagon I'm going to cut out of cardstock, and I want a scoring line to go through the middle of it. With these scoring tools, you can either use a scoring wheel, a double scoring wheel, or a scoring stylus. In this instance, I do not have a scoring wheel available, even though Cricut has prompted me to use the scoring wheel. So I can simply go into Edit Tools and select Scoring Stylus. That way I can use the tool that I actually have on hand. And here's a bonus tip. If you actually click on the little eye icon, you can find a list of instructions on how to load your tools. This is going to be especially handy if you are a new beginner. Tip number 8, you can actually create your own material. If you want to keep all of Cricut's material settings the same, go into Browse Materials and down to Material Settings. If you scroll down to the bottom of the list, you will find Create New Material. Here you can actually add the name of any material you want to create and save it in the materials list. Now I can go up and change the material pressure settings, the number of times cut, and even in certain cases you can change the blade you're using, so you can change from a rotary blade, deep point blade, or fine point blade. Once you have that set, you can save it and go back into Browse All Materials, type in the name of the material that you just created, and Cricut will allow you to use that material setting to cut out whatever project you are making. Tip number 9, you can move and hide materials on your mats. In your mat screen, you can actually see these 3 little dots to the upper left of an image. If I hover over that, I can either go to move an object or hide selected. So say I want 4 project copies of this image. I'm going to apply 4 copies, but I only have a 5-inch wide strip of vinyl. If I select the image and click move, I can actually create a new mat the same color. You can also create mats that are in different colors, hide an object completely. You can combine mats to save on space. Here you can see this really intricate detailed cut that I had for some decals, and I moved as many images as possible onto one mat to save on materials. Tip number 10, use offset for thin text. This is one of my favorite things to do, especially when I am making very tiny decals. So I'm going to create some script text, and I'll give you a bonus tip here. If you go into System, you can actually use your own fonts that you have uploaded to your computer. So I'm using one of my own fonts, and now you can see how thin some of this little text is, especially some of the lines here in the P and the C. So I want to just thicken that up a little bit. If I go into the offset feature, I can just bump this up enough to keep the original curves and swashes of my original text, but just bump it up enough to actually be able to cut out with Cricut. If I tried to cut out these little thin lines with Cricut, it would not cut out this intricate. So this is a great feature if you want to keep the integrity of your text, but just thicken it enough to cut out with your machine. Now tip number 11 is for you sublimation lovers. If you do sublimation, you'll want to try this hack. I do lots of mug sublimation. So I'm going to go into projects and search under Cricut only projects for mug. What I'm looking for here is just any mug. I'm going to select the first one that comes to the top of the list and hit customize. So I want to use this outline, the black outline template is all I am interested in using. I'm going to go delete everything else on this template. You can go to contour and hide all contours if you want to get rid of all images quickly. But I want to make sure that my background is white. I don't want to print out anything with my template. Now I can go into any image that I have. This one is actually a logo I have for my sticker shop. So I want to create a mug, sublimated mug with my logo. This makes it so easy. I can see exactly where to place my logo on this template. And once I have all my images placed, I can select everything and flatten it. Once I've flattened everything, I have created a print then cut file that's going to print out my images, and also cut the template out so I can see exactly where to place these on a mug. If you happen to see this little red exclamation point, you want to click on that. You can actually change the paper size in Cricut now. So I'm going to select 8.5 by 14, and that's actually going to let me print out and cut a larger image than normal. Cricut Print the Cut has changed considerably in the last year, so now I'm able to go in there and just print out this large design template on my sublimation printer, cut it out with my Cricut, and I have a perfect. Speaking of templates, let's go into tip number 12. Use templates to design your project. So I use this all the time, especially when I am creating t-shirts, but Cricut actually has a whole list of templates you can use. I'm going to use these classic t-shirts to show you how I create all of my designs. You can change the kind of t-shirt, the size, and even the color to get a better view of what you're actually creating. And I'm actually going to upload one of my own designs, and I'm going to see how this looks on the front, but I think I'm going to change it to the back. And then I'm going to add a little logo here to the front of the shirt. But this just gives you a really good view of what you're creating. But you can see here there's so many different templates. Like, I thought this was so neat, these little camping chairs, to add a little iron-on logo to these, to the front and back. But this just is a really good tool to help you see what you are designing. Now we're down to the last few tips. This one, bookmark your images. I found this out the hard way, but I would go into Design Space, find an awesome image that I really wanted to use. I would start working on it and come back later, find that my laptop had shut down or something happened, but I would lose this image. But I found this tip so helpful. If you find an image, go ahead and hit that little bookmark icon, and you can also add it to collection, like if you're doing a t-shirt or a mug. And you will thank yourself later. It makes it so easy to go back under my stuff here on the left, go into bookmarked images, and you can find this exact image. I've especially found this helpful when I am sharing my projects online and I want to share an image with somebody that I'm using. Trust me on this, bookmark all your images you like and use. You'll thank yourself later. Not only should you bookmark, but you should save and categorize your projects. You may think you're not going to come back to a project again, but trust me, you will come back to the same project more than you realize. It's so easy. Just go up to save and name your project. Even if you don't remember the exact name you give a project, if you add it to a collection such as t-shirts or mugs, it makes it easier to find later. I have years worth of projects in my library, and if I can type in a specific category, it really narrows down the projects within that category. So I'm not sifting through months and months of different images. But this is just a tip. Once you have Design Space for a while, you're going to accrue a lot of these projects. So go ahead and save them and categorize them to something that will be easier for you to find later. And finally, the last tip I have is to share your projects. If you go under the project library, you will see this little arrow. If you click on that, then it will ask you to add some photos of your project. You can name your project and add a description to make it easy for people to find. But this shares it with the Cricut community, and this is such a neat way for Cricut's community to grow. I'm not going to share this one, but I will show you this Basswood Love Mason Jar project that I shared, and it's so neat to go back and see how many people gave love to your project. And again, it just really adds to the Cricut community, and the projects that are available here will continue to grow. That is all the tips I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and so many thanks to 100,000 subscribers. I really appreciate all of you guys who have subscribed and watched my content. If you have any questions, you can definitely leave them in the comments, and I will see you guys back again in my next video.